Good afternoon, students. So now I'm going to do the very last chapter of the Azar book, chapter 20. And after chapter 20, then you guys are all masters of English grammar. So here, let me do the very last chapter of Betty Azar's book, Maintaining and Understanding English Grammar. So Chapter 20 talks about conditional sentences and wishes. And so when a conditional sentence typically consists of an if clause, which presents a condition, and a result clause. If it rains, so that's the if clause, the streets get wet, that's the result clause. Overview of basic verb forms used in conditional sentences. So here, if the if clause is in the present tense, the result clause is in the present tense, or it could be the simple future. If it's in the simple past, then you could have would plus the simple form. And if it's in the past perfect, you have would have plus the past participle. So these are the verb tenses that are used when you have an if clause and a then clause. For instance, simple present, or simple future. If I have enough time, I watch TV every morning. So that's simple present. If I have enough time, I will watch TV later on tonight. So when you have the simple present in the if clause, you can have simple present or simple future. If the if clause is in the simple past, then you have would plus a verb. If I had enough time, I would watch TV now or later on. If you have it in the past perfect, that means farther. In other words, what's happening is as you go, you're going further and further into the past. And so here, simple past would be something that happened yesterday, like Tuesday. If it's Wednesday and it happened Tuesday. Past perfect is something that happened way long ago, usually. So past perfect, would have. It also with the if clause, it usually expresses some kind of regret. If I had invested in Google 20 years ago, I would have earned millions and gazillions of money. So when you have past perfect plus would have plus a past participle, a lot of times you're talking about some kind of regret. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. If I had enough time, well, that's the past perfect, I would have watched TV yesterday. If I had more intelligence when I was a kid, I would have looked at the stocks, wrote it down, and then I could, not in the past, if I could time travel, oh my God, I would be so rich. So here you have, so if I time travel, I will be rich. If I had time travel, or if I time traveled, I would be rich. If I had time traveled, I would have been rich. Let's do something simple. If I walk the dog, I chew gum. If I walk the dog, simple present, I will chew gum. Then simple past. If I walked the dog, I would chew gum. Past perfect. If I had walked the dog, I would have chewed gum. That's how this works, okay? So you got to remember all the different, here you have an example. And you use were, instead of saying, if I was a carpenter, I would build my own house. If I were a carpenter, okay, that's a different lesson. So hopefully they'll tell you. So true in the present or future. If I don't eat breakfast, I always get hungry during class. Water freezes or will freeze if the temperature reaches 32 degrees Fahrenheit. If I don't eat breakfast tomorrow morning, I will get hungry during class. If it rains, we should stay home. If it rains, I might decide to stay home. If it rains, we can't go. If it rains, we're going to stay home. If anyone calls, please take a message. If anyone should call, please take a message. So in conditional sentences that express true factual ideas in the present or future, the simple present, not the simple future, is used in the if clause. The result clause has various possible verb forms. A result clause can have a simple present. It's the simple present to express a habitual activity or situation. It could have simple future to express a predictable fact or general truth, or the simple future to express a particular activity or situation in the future, or it can have modals such as should, might, can, be going to. So always in the if clause, the verb is present tense, and then the then clause, the verb can be simple future, simple present, or you can have a modal. Okay, so it's in the then clause, the result clause, that the verb tense changes. So if you have a present tense in the if clause, you can have simple present. If I win the lottery, then I could have I quit my job, or I will quit my job. So if I win the lottery, I will quit my job. And so you can have, if I win the lottery, simple present, and then you can have simple future. I will quit the job, or I quit my job. If I win the lottery, I quit my job. Okay, so present, and present future. And then you can have should, could, if you're not sure. So let's say if I win the lottery, well, I could buy a house. Maybe I might buy a house. I guess I'm going to buy a house. So when you're not sure, you can stick in a modal in the result clause. Untrue, contrary to the fact in the present or future. Okay, this is when we use were. If it's something that's hypothetical, okay, if I were a bird, I would fly out the window. So that is untrue. It's contrary to what can happen. So when you have something contrary, we use were. If I taught this class, I wouldn't give tests. If he were here right now, he would help us. If I were you, I would accept their invitation. And so, in truth, I don't teach this class. So if I taught this class, I wouldn't give tests. In truth, he is not here right now. So if Santa Claus were here right now, Santa Claus would love to give me presents. But do we see Santa Claus in this room? There is no Santa Claus. So it's contrary to reality. So we use were, okay? So we don't say if he is here right now. We would say if he were, if I were, if you were, if they were. Everything becomes were if it's contrary to reality. And so were is used for both singular and plural subjects. Was is sometimes used in informal speech. If I was you, I'd accept their invitation. Yeah, okay, very, very informal English I've heard, but it's not correct. That's why a lot of times informal speech is not correct. So we usually use, if I were you, I would accept their invitation. If I had enough money, I would buy a car. The speaker wants a car, but doesn't have enough money. Would expresses desired or predictable results. So that's D. In E, the speaker is expressing one possible result. Would be able to. Could expresses possible results. So here, if I had enough money, I could buy a car. In other words, the ability to buy a car. If I had enough money, I would buy a car. In other words, willing. So the difference between would and could is that would is the past tense of will, and could is the past tense of can. Okay, so that's how you can tell the difference. If I have enough apples, I will bake an apple in the afternoon. If I had enough apples, I would bake an apple in the afternoon. I will fix your bike if I have a screwdriver of the proper size. I would fix your bike if I had a screwdriver of the proper size. Sally always answers the phone if she is in the office, or if she were in the office. If she were in her office. Sally would answer the phone if she were in her office right now. If I am a student in this class. I would not be a student in this class if English were not my native language. Most people know that oil floats on water. If you pour oil on water, it floats. If there were no oxygen on Earth, life as we know it would not exist. My evening paper has been late every day this week. If the paper does not arrive on time today, I'm going to cancel my subscription. If I were a bird, I would want to live my whole life. I would not want to live my whole life in a cage. That's this. How old would human beings live to be if all diseases in the world were completely eradicated? If you boil water, it would disappear into the atmosphere as vapor. If people had claws instead of hands with fingers and thumbs, the machines we use every day would have to be constructed very differently. We would not be able to turn knobs, push small buttons, or hold tools securely without our hands. So that's how we use if with all of the, if 51% of the population is female, okay, so here, untrue, contrary to the past. If you had told me about the problem, I would have helped you. If they had studied, they would have passed the exam. If I hadn't slipped on the stairs, I wouldn't have broken my arm. If I had had enough money, I would have bought a car. If I had enough money, I would have bought a car. So here you have the past perfect and then would have. So if you have the past perfect, then you have to use the past. If you're expressing doubt and you're using past perfect, then you have to use the past conditional. So in truth, so A, if you had told me about the problem, I would have helped you. So A, in truth, you did not tell me about it. If they had studied, they would have passed the exam. So B, in truth, they did not study, therefore they failed the exam. C, if I hadn't slipped on the stairs, I wouldn't have broken my arm. In truth, I slipped on the stairs, I broke my arm. Note, the auxiliary verbs are always contracted in speech. If you told me, I would have helped you, or I would have. So that means that when we talk, we use more contractions than when we write. If I had had enough money, I would have bought a car. Would expresses a desired or predictable result. If I had had enough money, I could have bought a car. Could expresses a possible option. Could have bought or could have been able to buy. If I will go with you. So here you have simple future. So simple future usually goes with simple present. If I have enough money, I will go with you. Would go, it's the past tense of will, so therefore it's simple past. If I had enough money. Would have gone. So here you have the past conditional, then it becomes if I had had enough money. So always you have to have verb tense consistency between the if clause and the then clause, or they call it the result clause. If the weather is nice tomorrow, we will go to the zoo. If the weather were nice today, we could go to the zoo. If the weather had been nice yesterday, we would have gone to the zoo. If Sally were at home tomorrow, I am going to, if Sally is going to be home or going to be at home tomorrow, I am going to visit her. Jim isn't home right now. If he were at home right now, I would visit him. Linda wasn't at home yesterday. If she had been at home yesterday, I would have visited her. Shh, your father is taking a nap. Uh-oh, you woke him up. Gee, I'm sorry, Mom. If I had realized he was sleeping, I would not have made so much noise when I came in. But how was I supposed to know? Last night, Alex ruined the sweater when he washed it. If he had read the label, he would not have soaked it in hot, or he would not have washed it in hot water. Ever since I broke my foot, I haven't been able to get down to the basement to wash my clothes. Why didn't you say something? I would have come over and would have washed them for you if you had told me. I know you would have come right away, and if I had called you. I guess I didn't want to bother you. Nonsense. What are good neighbors for? So that's just an example of how you would use the if clause and the then clause. And so if I had more people in this class, you shouldn't tell your father exactly what happened. If I were you, I would tell him the truth as soon as possible. If I had had my camera with me yesterday, I would take a picture of Alex standing on his bed. On his head. I'm almost ready to plant my garden. I have a lot of seeds. Maybe I have more than I need. If I have more seeds than I need, I will give some to my neighbor. So how did I know this was present tense? Because here you have present tense. So therefore, verb tense consistency means then you continue in the present tense. George has only 2 pairs of socks, so present tense. If he has more than, so then I know to put the if clause in the present tense. If he has more than 2 pairs of socks, he would not have to wash his socks so often. Then the cowboy pulled his gun, past tense, to shoot at the rattlesnake, but he was too late. If he had been quicker to pull the trigger, the snake would not have bitten him on the foot. It's a good thing he was wearing heavy leather boots. So here it's all in the past. While we used to look at ourselves, while we used to look at ourselves when we comb our hair, if we would not have used the mirrors. Okay, I didn't get this one. It's been a long drought. It hasn't rained for over a month. If it doesn't rain soon, a lot of crops will die. If the crops die, many people will go hungry this coming winter. According to one scientific theory, an asteroid collided with the Earth millions of years ago, causing great changes in the Earth's climate. Some scientists believe if this asteroid had collided with the Earth, the dinosaurs would not have become extinct. Can you imagine what the world would be like today if dinosaurs still existed? Do you think it would be possible for dinosaurs and human beings to coexist on the same planet? I don't have a pen, but if I did, I would lend it to you. He is hungry. He is busy right now, but if he weren't, he would help us. I didn't vote in the last election, but if I had, I would have voted for Senator Anderson. I don't have enough money, but if I did, I would buy that book. The weather is very cold today, but if it isn't, I would go swimming. She didn't come, but if she did, she would have met my brother. I'm not a good cook, but if I cooked, I would make all my own meals. Or if I did cook, or if I will cook. If I cook, cook is the best one, cook present tense, because this is I'm not a good cook. So if I cook, I would make all of my own meals. Would make. Okay, that's in the past tense. So it has to be, this one's cooked. If I cooked, I would make. Every time you see would, you know it's past tense. So if I cooked, I would make all my own meals. I have to go to the class this afternoon, but if I do, I would go downtown with you. He didn't go to a doctor, but if he had, the cut on his hand wouldn't have gotten infected. I always pay my bills. If I didn't pay my bills, I would get in a lot of trouble. So every time you see would, then you know it's past tense, okay? So as soon as I see past tense, would get. So if I did not pay my bills, I would get in a lot of trouble. Helium is lighter than air. A helium-filled balloon would not float up. Helium is lighter than air. If it were, a helium-filled balloon wouldn't float upward. I'm not sure if I got that one right. I called my husband to tell him I would be late. He would have gotten worried about me. If I had not told him, he would have gotten worried about me. Yeah, it's not easy. This stuff, all of this stuff's not even easy for me. So if you have trouble doing it, don't feel bad. It's kind of like you got to figure out a puzzle or something. Here you have using progressive verb forms in conditional sentences. Notice the use of progressives, verb forms, in these examples. Even in conditional sentences, progressive verb forms are used in progressive situations. True. It is raining right now, so I will not go for a walk. Conditional. If it were not raining right now, I would go for a walk. So and then true. I am not living in Chile. I am not working at a bank. Conditional. If I were living in Chile, I would be working at a bank. True. It was raining yesterday afternoon, so I will not go for a walk. Conditional. If it had been raining, I would have gone for a walk. True. If I was not living in Chile last year, I was not living in Chile last year. I was not working at a bank. Conditional. If I had been working in Chile last year, I would have been working at a bank. So conditional means that it's hypothetical. It might not be true. And so that's why you have some of the were and were, because like right now, I am teaching English grammar. If I were not teaching English grammar, I would be taking a nap, okay? Right now, I am teaching English grammar, and then that's true. And if I were not teaching English grammar, so that's conditional because it's not true, I would go out and take a walk, or I would go to a beach. So that sort of thing. So conditional usually takes the if I were. So it is snowing. Let's see, did I do this one? Yeah. I don't have a pen, but if I did, I would lend it to you. He is busy right now, but if he weren't, he would help us. I didn't vote in the last election, but if I had, I would have voted for Senator Alice Anderson. I don't have enough money, but if I did, I would buy that book. The weather is cold today, but if it wasn't, I would go swimming. She didn't come, but if she did, she would have met my brother. I'm not a good cook, but if I were, I would make all my own meals. I have to go to class this afternoon, but if I didn't, I would go downtown with you. He didn't go to a doctor, but if he did, the cut on his hand wouldn't have gotten infected. I always pay my bills. If I do not pay my bills, if I did not pay my, see, because would get, if I did not pay my bills, I would get in a lot of trouble. Helium is lighter than air. If it floats, I always get stuck on this. If it were, a helium-filled balloon wouldn't float upward. I always get this one wrong. I called my husband to tell him I would be late. If I were, he would have gotten worried about me. Using progressives, and I think I just did that one. Yeah. Using mixed time in conditional sentences. If I did frequently, the time in the if clause and the time in the result clause are different. One clause may be in the present and the other in the past. I did not eat breakfast several hours ago, so I am hungry right now. If I had eaten breakfast several hours ago, I would not be hungry now. He is not a good student. He did not study for the test yesterday. If he were a good student, he would have studied yesterday. So using mixed time is quite tricky, and a lot of my ESL students can barely get through the rules. And so using mixed time is hard even for native speakers. So let's try this one out. I'm hungry because I didn't eat dinner. But if I had eaten dinner, I wouldn't be hungry now. The room is full of flies because you left the door open. So if you had not left the door open, the room would not be full of flies. You are tired this morning because you didn't go to bed at a reasonable time last night. So if you had gone to bed at a reasonable hour, you would not be tired this morning. I didn't finish my report yesterday, so I can't begin a new project today. Okay. Because if I don't finish my report today, I will not be able to begin a new project tomorrow. Anita is sick because she didn't follow the doctor's orders. If Anita had followed the doctor's orders, she would not be sick right now. I'm not you, so I didn't tell him the truth. If I were you, I would not tell him the truth. I don't know anything about plumbing, so I didn't fix the leak in the sink myself. If I knew something about plumbing, I would fix the leak in the sink myself. I received a good job offer from that company, so I wasn't seriously considering taking the job with the electronics firm. If I had received a good job offer from the oil company, then I will not seriously consider the job with the electronics firm. Wow, this is definitely like a tongue twister of verb tenses. Really get you thinking. I would have gone with you, but I had to study. I never would have succeeded without your help. She ran, otherwise she would have missed the bus. So often the if clause is implied, not stated. Conditional verbs are still used in the result clause. In A, the implied condition, if I hadn't had to study. In B, the implied condition, if you hadn't helped me. She ran, comma, otherwise she would have missed her bus. Conditional verbs are frequently used, following otherwise. In C, the implied if clause, she had not run. So I would have gone with you, but I had to study. I never would have succeeded without your help. She ran, otherwise she would have missed her bus. And so here you have more implied conditions. I would have visited you, but I didn't know that you were at home. I would have visited you if I had known you were at home. It wouldn't have been a good meeting without Rosa. It wouldn't have been a good meeting if Rosa hadn't been there. I would have answered the phone, but I didn't hear it ring. If I had heard the phone ring, I would have answered the phone. I couldn't have finished the work without your help. If you had not helped me, I would not have been able to finish the work. I like to travel. I could have gone to Nepal last summer, but I didn't have enough money. If I had had enough money, I would like to travel and go to Nepal, or something like that. I stepped on the brakes. Otherwise, I would hit the child on the bicycle. If I had not stepped on the brakes, I would have hit the child on the bicycle. Olga turned down the volume on this tape player. Otherwise, the neighbors probably would have called to complain about the noise. If Olga had not turned down the volume on the tape player, the neighbors would have called to complain about the noise. Tarek would have finished his education, but he had to quit school and find a job in order to support his family. If Tarek did not have to find a job to support his family, Tarek would have finished his education. Okay. Implied conditions. So this is kind of fun to do with a class because it's such a tongue twister for your brain, or brain twister, whatever. I would have, but I didn't have enough time. I would have come to your house, but I didn't have enough time. I couldn't have afforded my college education without my parents' help. If I don't have enough, I would go to China. No, not China. I would go to Japan or Europe, but I don't have enough money. I ran out of time. Otherwise, I would have helped you with your homework. Stuff like that. If I could speak Japanese, I would spend next year studying in Japan. Had I known Mr. Jung was in the hospital, I would have sent him a note and some flowers. We will move into our new house next month, if it is completed by then. It's too bad that it's snowing. If it doesn't snow, we could go for a drive. I was very tired. Otherwise, I would have gone to the party with you last night. I'm glad I have so many friends and such a wonderful family. Life without friends or family would be very lonely for me. My grandfather is no longer alive, but if he were, I'm sure he would be proud of me. If you were not asleep last night when we if you slept last night when we arrived, if you were not asleep last night when we arrived, I would have asked you to go with us, but I didn't want to wake you up. Bill has such a bad memory that he forgets his head if it were not attached to his body. According to one report, the average hen lays 247 eggs a year, and the average person eats 255 eggs a year. If hens do not outnumber people, the average person would not eat 255 eggs a year. What would you be doing right now if you were not in class? Well, obviously not teaching English grammar. I would be sleeping. Boy, is it ever hot. You said it. If there were only a breeze, it would not be so unbearable. Why is Peggy Anderson in class today? I don't know, but I'm sure if she were not absent, I'm sure she would not be absent unless she had a good reason. Hi, sorry I'm late. That's okay. I would have come here sooner, but I had car trouble. Want to ride on the roller coaster? No way. I do not want to ride on the roller coaster even if you paid me $1 million. Pat, come on in. Oh, I didn't know you had company. I would not have come if I had known someone was here. That's okay. Come and let me introduce you to my friends. Are you coming to the party? I don't think so, but if I change my mind, I will tell you. Oh wow, that was such a brain twister. Yeah, all of this is like a brain twister. It's fun, but it's a brain twister. Anyway, so I think I'm not going to, and using as if, as though. It looks like rain. It looks as if it is going to rain. It looks as though it is going to rain. It looks like it is going to rain. And so all of these have the same meaning. Notice A, like followed by a noun object. B and C, as if and as though is followed by a clause. Like, in D, like is followed by a clause. The use of like is common in informal English, but is not generally considered appropriate in formal English. As if and though is preferred. Oh, that's true. It looks like it's going to rain. That's informal English. And then it looks like rain. It looks like as if it is going to rain. it looks as though it is going to rain. So that's what you would write. You would write as if and as though in formal English. And then you would talk and say it looks like rain. He is not a child. She talked to him as if he were a child. She did not take a shower with her clothes on. When she came in from the rainstorm, she looked as if she had taken a shower with her clothes on. He has met her. He acted as if or as though he had never met her. She will be here. She spoke as if she wouldn't be she spoke as if she wouldn't be here. Usually the following as if, as though is untrue. In this case, verb usage is similar to that in conditional sentences. And so the use of as if and as though. She talked to me as if I were a child. So if you use as if and as though when it's something that's not true or contrary, just like if I were a bird, I would fly. And nobody likes to be talked as if they were children. So you would use children, especially if you're talking about an adult. Okay, she talks to me as if I were not smart. And so as if, when in the conditional, uses were. So here, English is not her native language. She speaks English as if English were her native language. You didn't see a ghost. What's the matter? You look as if you saw a ghost. His animals aren't people. I know a farmer who talks to his animals as if they were people. His father is not a general in the army. Sometimes his father gives orders as if he were in the army. I didn't climb Mount Everest. When I reached the fourth floor, I was winded. I felt as if I had just climbed Mount Everest. Okay, or I felt as if I were on top of Mount Everest. Okay, so as if uses were, just like the other conditionals, if you're talking about something, that's not true. Verb forms following wish. She will not tell me. I wish she would tell me. He isn't going to be here. I wish he were going to be here. She can't come tomorrow. I wish she would come tomorrow. I don't know French. I wish I knew French. It is raining right now. I wish it weren't raining right now. I can't speak Japanese. I wish I could speak Japanese. John didn't know. I wish John had come. Mary couldn't come. I wish Mary. So every time you use I wish, it instantly becomes like contrary to the fact or hypothetical. So as soon as you have I wish, then everything becomes I were or would and hypothetical. So wish is followed by a noun clause. Past verb tense is similar to those in conditional sentences and are used in the noun clause. For example, would, the past form will, is used to make a wish about the future. In the simple past, knew is used to make a wish about the present. And in the past perfect, had come is used to make a wish about the past. Oh, well, that makes sense. I wish that she would tell us. I wish that he were going to be there. Okay, so you use the same rules for if something's going to happen and it's just hypothetical. That's when we use were, and that's in the present tense. And if you make the wish in the past, then it becomes would or could or had. So everything has to match. Our classrooms doesn't have any windows. I wish our classroom had windows. The sun isn't shining. I wish the sun were shining right now. I didn't go shopping. I wish I were shopping. I don't know how to dance. I wish I knew how to dance. You didn't tell them about it. I wish you had told them about it. It's cold today. I'm not wearing a coat. I wish I were wearing a coat. I don't have enough money to buy that book. I wish I had enough money to buy that book. Alina is tired because she went to bed last night. She wishes she had gone to bed earlier last night. I can't go with you tomorrow, but I wish I could. My friend won't ever lend me his car. I wish he would. I wish he could lend me his car for my date tomorrow. Mrs. Takasawa isn't coming to dinner with us tonight. I wish she could come to dinner with us. Okay, so wish, when you use the word wish, it becomes hypothetical were. So we use were when it's like in the present tense, and then you use would if it's in the so if it's in the future. Oh, okay. So a wish about the future, and then you use would, were going, and would come. A wish about the present, you use knew, weren't raining, could speak. And a wish about the past becomes had come and could have come. Using would to make wishes about the future. It is raining. I wish it would stop. I'm expecting a call. I wish the phone would ring. I'm going to a good party. I wish you would come. We're going to be late. I wish you would hurry. So would is usually used to indicate that the speaker wants something to happen or someone other than the speaker to do something in the future. The wish may or may not come true. In C and D, I wish you would is often used to make a request. So I'm going to a good party. I wish you would come. So here it's often used to make a request. We're going to be late. I wish you would hurry. And that's it. That's the end of this book. I could go over the appendix. Now I'll go over the appendix in a different video, because the appendix just goes over the parts of speech. Okay, so it goes over, I think it goes over material that's in the previous book, in the previous Azar book, in the basic Azar, because there are different Azar books. This is the advanced Azar book. This one is Advanced Understanding and Maintaining English, and the appendix goes over and reviews stuff from the basic, the previous edition, the previous level, which is the basic English grammar. So you have basic, intermediate, and advanced. So what I went over, these 20 chapters, is the chapters that's in the advanced Azar book. But if you want to go backwards and look at the basic one, then the basic one will go over parts of speech and will review parts of speech for you. So I hope you enjoyed my 20 chapter videos on the advanced version or the advanced level of Betty Azar Maintaining and Understanding English Grammar. If you have any questions, feel free to email me anytime.